A reverse diet is the most fundamental part of your fat loss journey if you want to maintain your results long term, but it is the part in which most people either don't know how to do properly, neglect, don't give the same consistency, or just simply don't do. A lot of people will finish a deficit and simply just go back to what they were doing before, which is why you then end up kind of regaining. Now, I want to preface this by saying, obviously, the habits and stuff that you do to get your results are also going to be the same habits that you use to maintain them. So that's also really, really important to remember, which is another reason why quick fixes do not work. But essentially what I'm going to go through is what a reverse diet is and roughly how you should structure it. So when you are in a calorie deficit, this is your baseline. So this is your body, this is your BMR, this is your calories burned through digestion, through metabolism, through everything, okay? If you want to be in a deficit of calories, you are going to eat roughly this much food, okay? Or you're going to create a deficit through a reduction of food and an increased output. So, exercise, steps, things like that. Now, what's going to happen over time is your body consistently wants to maintain weight. So what's going to happen is your body is going to slow down its processes. It's going to become more efficient. It's going to preserve energy. So this deficit that was once like this is now going to look like this. So what you then have to do is you then have to drop your calories a little bit more, or you increase your output a little bit more, which is why throughout a deficit you will have to consistently push that a little bit harder because your body is coming down. You have to bring your deficit down in order to obviously elicit the same deficit. And no, a deficit does not have to be 500 calories. 200 calorie deficit is still a deficit. You can still see results from that. I digress. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So this is your deficit. So what we then want to do, obviously, by the time you get to the end of your deficit, let's just say 8 to 10 weeks, let's say your deficit is here. Obviously, you have dropped your calories, you've increased your output, your body's processes have slowed down. So what we then need to do when you get to the end of your deficit is we then need to push all these things back up, because you don't want to stay down here. You don't want to stay on low calories. You want to bring everything back up. You want to have more energy. You want to, be able to just have more freedom, more flexibility, all of that jazz. So what we then do is, in the same way as we slowly brought it down, we then slowly increase it. So what you will do is you will roughly increase your calories on a weekly basis. So let's say you are on, for argument's sake, let's just say 2,000 calories, okay? 2,000 calories here. What we're then going to do is you're going to go, right, week 1, I'm going to increase my calories by 50 to 100 per day. So you're going to have either 2,050 to 2,100 calories every single day. You're then going to monitor that. So you're going to monitor all the data. So measurements, weight, photos, all of that jazz, okay? Now, obviously, when you have more energy, when you have more fuel, you have more energy. Therefore, you're probably going to move a little bit more. You're probably going to perform better in the gym. So for the first 4 weeks, for the first 3 weeks of my reverse, my weight actually continued to drop, because although I was eating more calories, I was obviously then expending more, which is the reason why I was able to increase my calories by over 450 per day whilst maintaining results. In fact, my body weight is actually sitting slightly lower now than it was at the end of the deficit. Anyway, so here we are, okay? So you have to bring it up. So for the first week, let's say you're going to bring it up by 100 calories per day, like I just said. You can then go, right, how is the data looking? Okay, weight has completely maintained. Perfect. Right, let's now bring it up by another 100 calories. So week 2, you're going to go to 2,200 calories. If things don't move maybe as you kind of wanted to, which they may not, your body is still your body, you may then go, right, week 3, I'm just going to bring it up by 50 calories. Or week 3, I'm going to keep my calories the same, but what I'm going to do instead is decrease my steps. So, or, decrease a cardio session, things like that. Obviously, like I said, you still want to be doing these things, but, maybe not to the extent that you were at the end of the deficit. And you're basically going to keep doing that until you maintain. And when I say maintain, I don't mean your weight has maintained for a week. I mean your weight has maintained consistently for a couple of weeks. Now, you're probably going to have a good idea about, where this is, but really, really push it until you look at your averages. So we want an average. We don't just want, oh my God, my weight has spiked, because on a day-to-day basis, your weight is probably going to fluctuate by 1 to 2 pounds every single day. Over your, period and around certain stages of your cycle, your weight's probably going to fluctuate up to 4 or 5 pounds. So, you have to also take these things into account. So whether you're in a deficit, whether you're in a reverse, whatever you're doing, I would always say you've kind of hit like maintenance or a plateau when things don't move for 3 weeks. That's when you pretty much know, because that's, as a female, when you're also taking into account your cycle and things like that. If things don't move for pretty much 3 weeks, you pretty much know that you've plateaued, maintained, and that's then when you've hit your maintenance. But don't be scared to eat more. Don't forget as well, you're not going to suddenly start increasing your calories by like 300, 400 a day, you're literally going up by like 50 to 100. And that way is just, I find personally for me, it's just the best way to really, really be able to kind of read the data, increase it slowly, give your digestion time to adapt, give your body, you know, your metabolism time to adapt, and just get to a position where you're actually, you know, you're feeling good, you're seeing the progress, and you're also then staying in control. Because I know that when you come to the end of the deficit, it can be quite scary to then suddenly jump up by loads of calories. And I know that people will, you know, say, okay, go straight back to maintenance and stuff. I personally just find, you know, this is, for me, it was a better way to do it. And yes, technically I was still in a deficit for a couple of weeks, but obviously, you know, I was in less of a deficit, so it, you know, it didn't really matter. Do you know what I mean? But the biggest thing I would say is give your reverse the same consistency and the same dedication that you give your deficit, and you'll be onto a winner. Now, of course, you can have more flexibility. Of course you can. I probably ate out every single weekend of my reverse, but take your steps seriously, take your cardio seriously, really, really push hard in your training, keep your meals the same, but maybe just add more to them, maybe add more volume, maybe just add more snacks, because what you're then going to be doing is you then know that, okay, I'm doing everything I can for my digestion, I'm still getting in my protein, I'm still getting in my nutrients, I'm still getting in my steps, you know, still managing my sleep, all of these things. And it just makes life so much easier because, like I said, you're then able to just see the data, you're then able to bring it back up until you get to a position where you're like, right, now my calories are up, my energy's in a good place, training's in a good place, strength is in a good place, and now I can just simply, you know, pull back from tracking, or, you know, just simply have more flexibility and just start living your life more. But yeah, I've blabbed on for 6 minutes now, so if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments.